guys? Thanks for tuning in. Paul Linn here for Lethal Arm Assassins Network, and we are blessed to be in the home and the shrine that is Steve Hale's restoration shop. So guys, if you don't know Steve Hale, we're going to give you an opportunity to meet him today. Super prominent member of the arm wrestling community and is a very, very diverse human. So a lot of the questions I'm going to be asking are going to be arm wrestling related, but more so who he is and what he does outside of arm wrestling. So Steve, first off, I want to say thank you so much for allowing us to host our tournament here.
Dude, thank you, man.
Unbelievable.
I'm blessed and honored, man.
I can't wait to cut up and show everybody what you got going on out here. So you've got a ton. You've done a ton already in the sport, and you've done a ton outside the sport. So I just want to give the opportunity for our fans and the people who are watching the show an opportunity to know you as an arm wrestler first, and then get a feel for what you're doing outside of arm wrestling that could also even be mutually beneficial for the sport. So let's go ahead and start off and just introduce us to your journey in arm wrestling.
For sure, man. So arm wrestling for me started with my older brother. Okay, he's 11 years older than me, and Johnny is the most badass human on the planet. You know what I mean? He was always the toughest dude. Nobody could ever freaking touch him. You know, and he would beat everybody in the world at arm wrestling. Right. Well, throughout my whole life, I always looked up to him, and he would kick my ass at everything I did. Every day, just beat me down. So and just sharpen me. You know, so like all I ever wanted to do was beat him at arm wrestling, and that made me wicked good, right? So all throughout high school, I would beat every. You know, when I came to freshman year of high school, you know, my brother said, "Listen, you better come in, you better find the biggest senior, and you better kick his ass." You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Make it for so like I was always trying to find the biggest guy in arm wrestling, just because I liked doing that. You know, and through arm wrestling, people like that, after I got out of high school, I became known around the area for like, you know, this dude's such a great arm wrestler. And then, you know, I still couldn't beat my brother at that point. You know, I'm like 18, 19, you know, and I was going around trying to arm wrestle people everywhere I could go.
So at that point, are you doing it formally on a table, or is this just
I had never been to a competition yet or a tournament, right? So, you know, at this point now I'm in a stage where I still think I'm like the baddest dude in the world, right?
We've all been there.
Exactly. And I think that's probably how most arm wrestlers get started. Yes. I mean, that's how we all get to this place where we're so unique but really similar people, and it's really awesome, man. So you know, that stage is happening, right? And then I hear about a tournament. I'm like, well, I'm going to go to this tournament and beat everybody, you know? So I go to the tournament, get my ass kicked. I'm like, who the hell are these people? You know, so at that tournament, I met Chris Myers, who became my coach and you know, incredible friend, mentor. You know, I've been blessed to have in my life. So I started training with Chris, and back up to before that tournament, there was another kid in the area who was also known as like the best kid in the area, and that's Mike Grimaldi. So him and I meet at my house. We'd never met. Everybody knew us, and they all tell you guys got to arm wrestle each other, blah blah blah. So we meet at my house the day before this first tournament. And I had just built an arm wrestling table. I went online, I got all the specs, I built it in the shop. Because at that point, I started my business when I was 17, so I had the shop going and I was building stuff, so I built this table, right? So me and Mikey meet, and we beat the shit out of each other. Like 30 matches, just hammer each other. You
know before the tournament?
The day before the tournament.
That's great. That's great preparation.
So we get to the tournament the next day, we're looking at it, we rode out together, you know, and we instantly became fucking best friends, you know. So we get to the tournament, and we're like, dude, is your arm sore? Yeah, man. Like, maybe we shouldn't have done that yesterday. So we do the tournament. It was and him and I have battled each other ever since then, and that's what really got us to be so good so fast. Just that competition between the two of us really helped drive. So that led to practicing and training at Chris's house twice a week.
So what was the timeline there around what year?
So now I'm like 24, 25. So this is like, I started taking it really serious in probably 2011. Okay. And then 2012, and then that led up to, we went to the semifinals in Atlantic City, and then Chris and I went to Vegas to the first WAL championship. Right. That was 2014, I think. Right. Actually, there's the shirt from right there. Right. Yeah. So that was right around then, and that's when I started beating my brother. And I remember
it took that long to reach your brother?
Yeah, it took that long to beat my brother, man. And the first time I beat him, like, he was just like sad, and I felt kind of sad. It was like that, like when you reach that peak of that mountain, but like it's like, man, I feel bad. I know my brother's bumming right now. You know what I mean? So now we break each other's balls, man. But like he's always driving me, and that's like been the motivation throughout my career too. Is he's always saying, you know, he's the one who's always like, you don't know how to paint cars. So I told him, I'm like, I'm going to become the best car painter in the world just to prove you wrong.
Right.
And so that was my goal with that. You know, you're never going to get on TV, so I'm like, I'm going to have a TV show on the History Channel. Just, you know, I was always wanted to prove my brother wrong. You know what I mean? But it was more so like I wanted to prove him right. Because like I knew that he saw the potential, and I wanted to do that.
That's a good transition.
So
like that takes. So that's we're talking about the 14, 15 time frame. And I know you've kind of slowed down with arm wrestling a little bit more, started focusing more on business and other endeavors. So you had mentioned the History Channel, and shows you had some previous affiliation with them. So let's kind of go into that piece here. First off, let's explain what you do, and then how that translates.
Yeah, so I build custom cars. That's like my biggest thing. We build and paint custom cars and restore classic cars. So like I said earlier, my goal was to become the best car painter in the world, right? So my family, everybody in my family does excavation work, bulldozers and heavy equipment, all that sort of stuff. And I did a lot of that work and carpentry work and all that stuff. So that's what everybody said, oh, you got to do this. Well, when I was 15, I bought this old Jaguar and I wanted to restore it. I said, oh, you're not going to be able to do that. So I did that. It took me like 3 years. I finished it, won the first car show I went to. So that kicked off the restoration career, and people just started calling me left and right and doing all these cars. And you know, it went from one shop to the next shop. Originally, like right off the bat, I was doing it in my mother's garage. Then I moved to a barn that we turned into a shop. And I was, you know, next thing you know, people were just calling me left and right. And then I got in trouble for not having a business license. I'm like 18, 19 years old.
So we're 18, 19 right now. Okay, so we've rewound. Okay, let's go.
Yep. And so I'm like, you know, all right, I guess I better do this serious. And then I moved into my first big shop. It was like 8,500 square feet in Marcy. That was in 2006. So now I'm 20. And I was there from 2006 to 2010. And we did well over 1,000 cars in that shop. There was so many days that like weeks where I would be like 3 days without sleeping. You know, I just remember watching the sun come up, watching the sun go down to the one window in the shop. I mean, it was just like, it was insane, man. There would be days I would just wear a paint suit for 3 days straight. You know, it was just painting cars, and it was awesome. And that's how we built the connections with PPG Paint Company, who really took us to the next level. So they started sponsoring us in 2009. We built this environmentally friendly truck, and it was the first truck in the world to be sprayed with their waterborne custom line. So we helped them market that paint product, and they took us all around the country. We went to Vegas and Detroit and Florida, Nashville, like everywhere you could imagine. And that's how we got the connections with History Channel. And that was a process too. So now we're back in like 2009, 2010. Well, the TV show didn't even launch until 2015, but we started working with them that whole time.
So from 10 to 15 was the time that it took to work on what TV show?
On American Restoration.
American Restoration. So if you're interested in some of Steve's work on History Channel, go ahead and look up American Restoration.
And all that now is on our YouTube playlist. So if you go to Steve's Restorations and Hot Rods YouTube, the playlist, Steve's Restorations and Hot Rods.
Steve's Restorations and Hot Rods on YouTube. Check them out. You can find all that old footage.
So, that's all on there under the History Channel, American Restoration. So, back into like 2010, 12 now, I'm doing this business, but all I wanted to do was become the best car painter in the world. So, I never really thought too much about, okay, being in business, the objective is to make money, right? So, I was putting everything I had on the line, man. I had loans, I was paying people, I was freaking scraping for change under my freaking cup holder to get off the throughway. You know, I mean, I was broke. We were building multi-million-dollar cars, but I had no fucking money. I was broke. I was just like bummed out because it was so hard. And finally, 2010 or 2011, my brother had this tractor trailer, right? An empty trailer, and I had to move out of the shop because I lost all my money. I had to store all my stuff in his trailer. So it was like he won. You know what I mean? In my mind, it was like he was like, told you so. You know what I mean? So like that was like a really, you know, like a really tough time, you know, and that was like the trend with business, and that's the thing. Getting into what we're doing with this new YouTube series is we're going to teach people a lot about the ups and downs and about mental toughness and about never giving up on your dreams and your goals. We'll touch base on that in just a second.
Excellent.
So I put all my stuff in this tractor trailer. I move out of the shop. We had painted thousands of cars. Now I'm, you know, I guess what you'd call famous in the car world, right? We've gone to SEMA in Las Vegas. We've done all these autograph signings. I've been with Courtney Hansen on the Power Block, on Spike TV, and you know all this stuff was happening, but I was completely broke. You know, I painted all these cars, worked my ass off, you know, harder than anybody I knew, and I had nothing, right? So I'm like, I moved back in with my mom, put all my stuff in my brother's trailer, and I'm like, screw it, I'm done. Well, then a guy calls me up, he's like, listen, I got this car, I need it painted, you got to do it. I'm like, dude, I don't have a shop anymore. He said, well, find one. I'm going to help you get, the first couple months paid for it, set it up, and you're going to paint my car. So I moved into this little 2-bay shop. It was a freaking hole in the wall. I mean, there was like 3 inches of water on the floor. The place was flooded. Under the water was 2 inches of oil. I mean, it was disgusting. There was stuff hanging out of the ceiling. It was a disaster. So I revamped the whole shop in like a month and a half. Didn't sleep the whole month. Got it done. Get the guy's car and paint the car. Next thing you know, people are calling again. So we start getting these really interesting jobs coming in, and this building kind of becomes available. It was something that my father bought from the bank.
This building we're in now.
Right.
Okay.
So now we're like 5 shops later. After all the little shops and the tractor trailer set up.
Well, this is not a little shop. So we did walk around a portion of it.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Steve actually lives here. It's incredibly. I mean, he said he's got a lot of work still to do on it, but as you can see, absolutely incredible.
Yeah. No, this shop is like 12,000 square feet, and I already feel like we're going to be needing a bigger place pretty soon, especially what's happening. So it's awesome, man. I mean, it's cool to remember. So like, I took my girlfriend down to where my old shop was, that little 2-bay shop. We didn't have a bathroom. We had to like pee in buckets out back. Like in the freaking wintertime, it was like freezing. There's no bathroom, nothing. So, but I painted in that little 2-bay shop. To get to here, we did like 30 more jobs in there.
Right.
And these are jobs that like usually take people like a year to do.
Yeah.
And we were just on fire. I had like 4 awesome guys working. I mean, we just nonstop around the clock would work, and we got so much done. We kept building that reputation. I kept the connections with the History Channel, with PPG, all that sort of stuff. Well, then I moved into this shop, and it was a disaster. So same thing, my brother comes back into the picture. I start restoring the building. What are you doing? You need to get to work. Stop doing that. Well, you're sanding the floor. You're painting the walls. You're doing. Just start working. You're wasting time. I said, no, I'm building a showroom. I'm building a shop. This is going to become. I said, I am going to be known as one of the best car painters to ever live, and I need to have the best shop for that.
Right.
And so that was my goal right there. So to get this shop incredible so that we could continue building incredible vehicles, but take it to the next level. So we get the shop done, the TV show happens. It's awesome. American Restoration comes in. Now, at that point, that was another low where I had got the whole shop done, ran out of money again, and I was like, you know what, I can't do it. I'm going to have to close shop. Right. That very day, History Channel calls me and says, hey, we want to do the show. I'm like, well, geez, it's been 6 years now.
Right.
What's the holdup?
Right.
So, they say, well, listen, I'm sorry, we want to do it. And I said, well, I don't think I can do it at this point. I think I'm going to close business.
Right.
So they called me like 10 more times, kept stalling me. They're like, listen, we talked to 500 shops. We want you to do the show. Because American Restoration had been on already for multiple seasons, and it was a real successful show. Right. And then they wanted to revamp the show, and they wanted to do a new image of it with 5 different shops. And we were the one shop that they wanted to do out of the 5.
Right.
And so, we finally said, yeah, all right, let's do it. And then we did that show, and it was incredible. We did 9 episodes on History Channel that are all over the world.
Right.
So people have been emailing us and calling. We've sold shirts to Australia, New Zealand, Mexico. People have came all the way to the shop from Mexico to say hi to us. They drove all the way across the country to see us. So
that's cool stuff.
It was really cool, man. We would wake up. There was a day a man came here with his son who was. He had special needs, and the kid was, he was a kid who had some trouble, and our show was like his whole life. We were heroes to him. He came here, he was in tears. We were hugging him, signing autographs, taking pictures. That was like one of the best feelings of my life. Knowing that you could, influence somebody like that and make someone that happy.
Well, when you're struggling, when you're going through those low points and everything, and you probably at that 2-bay place that you were at, you never imagined you'd be here. And the beauty of it is you're having great success, but you're using your success to do a little bit of good in the world. Right. So let's kind of fast forward because I think that transitions into what your new mantra kind of is, and what and I know we spoke quite a bit at Atlantic City, which that was good for me. It's good to speak to people who like-minded individuals, but tell us a little bit about what you're doing and kind of what message you're kind of leading now.
So that's what happens. So we do this TV show, right? And then first season goes awesome. We're like, hell yeah, we're going to get the second season. Everything's going to take off. We're going to sell all kinds of merchandise. People are going to be calling us from all over the world. Well, we don't get the call back for season 2. Right? So then I had a couple issues, like family issues and things where I thought I was going to lose the building. Well, in that time period, we also got the biggest job of my career. We did a multi-million-dollar Bugatti. Okay. Now, this car, the only Bugatti like it that's been restored in recent times, took 3.5 years from like the top crew in the world to do. Well, we did ours in 5.5 months, and then we beat that car. at the Concours d'Elegance after that, which is, these are all $1 million to $50 million cars. This is the cream of the crop stuff. So we did that car and we won. After we had lost a TV show and I'm in a really low point, and still, same thing, I did the car for, you know, my cost, basically, just because I wanted to do this car, I wanted it on my resume. And now it's come to the point where it's like, man, I'm going to lose the building again, things are falling apart. I had a really crappy relationship where I, you know, there was just all kinds of problems. I was at a real low point, and I found this 75 Hard program, all right, by Andy Frisella, who's like, he's an incredible businessman, motivational speaker, so on and so forth. Well, this is all about building mental toughness and realizing who you are as an individual and what you can do. You know, so I do this program in the midst of, you know, you either get the bank loan or you're getting out of the fucking building and you got nowhere to live, because this is where I'm living and working. So I got like 3 months to figure this out. Well, in the middle of that, I start doing this 75 Hard program, which is a fairly time-consuming thing, but it's also developing who you are as a person. Well, throughout that program, everybody's telling you, you're wasting time, you're not doing this. Well, towards the end of it, I realized I started inspiring other people to do it. Yeah. And they started messaging me saying, hey, you know, I'm changing my life because you thank you so much. And then that started ripple effecting, and I saw all these people changing their lives. And next thing you know, little things started falling into place. I got the loan, I got the building. You know, so now I move in here, I'm like, you know what? Back to when I was doing American Restoration, I wrote a TV show called The Wild Ride. Okay. And my intention was to sell it to Discovery Channel. And I talked to them for a while. I made a whole show, and it was about people living vicariously through my life. Right. Because I do a lot of interesting stuff other than the business. Right. Professional arm wrestling, snowboarding, traveling around the country, learning to play music, all that stuff. So that's all the stuff that I was doing while building the business. Right. All that stuff was happening. So that's what the show was going to be about. Well, then I realized when I was doing that 75 Hard program, there's a bigger purpose behind it. Right. You know, all these things I'm doing in my life, I need to help people realize that. Because at that time, too, my dog died, who was my best friend, man. He was 13 years old, and, like, he was my son. He was my best friend in the world, you know? So it was really crushing me, and I thought a lot about what our lives mean and how short our lives actually are. And, you know, all of us have a chance, man. When we get to the end of the finish line, we're going to be able to see, like, this is what you could have been. Right. And I don't want to fucking know what I could have been. Right. I want to know what I could. I want to know that I did everything I could to live my life to the fullest, and I want to help other people to realize they can do that too. You know, so we decided to make A Wild Ride a show to help people become the best versions of themselves. Right. Well, that kind of spun off into a 5-part series. So now we're basically we built a production studio in here, and I've got an awesome crew of people that are talented. Audio people, editing, camera operators. So we basically have a whole production company now, and we're starting 5 different shows. A Wild Ride is the story of my life. It's a docu-series, right? Right. So it's a multiple-part show that's going to show my hard times, the 75 Hard program, my comeback story, restoring the shop, which is going to end with this tournament. Right. This is the finale of that episode. Then the Steve's Restoration story, the story of Steve Hale, with the arm wrestling, the snowboard, and all that stuff, and then getting into my family, my brother, my friends, and all that. So that's the docu-series A Wild Ride. Right. And Wild Rides is the show that's all about the cars that we've done, but the people that we did them for, the stories behind the cars. So, like, everybody knows we build these awesome cars, but behind those cars are incredible stories and incredible people. So, like, episode 1, he was a Vietnam veteran. All he wanted to do was win a big car show. Well, he found out he had stage 4 lung cancer halfway through the build. We finished the truck. We took him to America's Greatest Hot Rod Show. He won first place, and then he passed away the week later. Unbelievable. So we helped him conquer his last dream, you know. And there's so many stories. It's a collection of stories, Wild Rides. That's excellent. And behind the best vehicles ever built in the world. So you get to see these vehicles, but you also hear the stories behind them. So then we got Wild Jobs, which is like an in-depth look at what we do. Right. How we take a 1950s bowling alley and turn it into a custom hardwood floor. Right. How we build a Bugatti. How we, you know, build arm wrestling tables. All that sort of stuff is in the Wild Jobs. Then Wild Life is the vlog series behind all the cool shit I do. Right. So that's training for arm wrestling. That's you know, tips on it, but it's also stories behind it. That's going to Switzerland to go snowboarding, learning how to play music, learning how to perform music, and that's stuff that I just started doing when I was 30. I'm 34 now. Right. So like one of my big dreams is to be able to perform on a big stage. Right. I want to be able to do that. So I'm learning how to play music. I'm going to teach people, hey, listen, you're never too old to learn something new. Right. You know, and that's people are going to learn that through Wild Life. And then Wild People Podcast, where we're sitting right here, it's going to be all the wild people in my life that have inspiring stories that can help other people to become the best versions of themselves.
Right.
So
if you haven't realized, Steve's plate is very full and overflowing. And at times I feel like mine is, until I hear somebody like you talk, and I'm like, wow, I got plenty of time. You know what I mean?
No,
but I think what's most inspiring about you in this thing is the fact that you're able to do so much, and you're able to do these amazing things. You know, in the auto restoration business, but not just cars, but that you're actually able to be successful as a human, but also keep your focus on helping others.
Right.
I mean, it really embody the idea of doing the right thing for the right reason, which is kind of a mantra that I've tried to adapt to myself.
Yeah, and you do that, man. And just by being the best version of yourself, you're inspiring people to do that. You know? And like people always have like the comparison thing, right? You know, like you were saying, well, you know, like you feel like I do too much, you know, or like I feel like that guy Andy Frisella I mentioned who does 75 hard. He does so much more than me, you know what I mean? Like, I wish I could do half the stuff that guy does, you know. But that's where this show ties the whole world together. All of us are on our own wild ride. Every single human on this planet, we're on a wild ride. That's what this is all about. You know what I mean? We all have our own version of that, our own life. But we're all here, man, and we're all in it together. So let's help each other become the best versions of ourselves and live our lives, man. That's what it's all about.
That's excellent. You know? That's excellent. So, guys, if you're looking for motivation in life or in whatever you're doing, this is a prime example of somebody who's really conquered a lot of that, and I think we all can learn from. And one of the things you said too about like timelines and being remembered and everything, it really resonates with me, because to me, when it's all said and done, and you look back at your life's work, you can have all these achievements, and you can be in a history book for doing things or whatever the case may be. But to me, what you're doing is you're building a legacy of memories and touching other people, which I think, you know, there may not be any record book that holds those lives that you're touched, but you're clearly doing those things. So I can say personally, I'm super inspired by you, and I want to say thank you again for opening your home, your workplace, and your heart with sharing what you got. So guys, just to recap, wild rides, and all the associated things that you got coming along with that. I know I'm personally very excited to see what comes of it.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to have you on the show too.
We're
going to do a lot of episodes.
I'd be glad to. Listen, I don't have as much to talk about, just my little niche, but
yeah, we got some stuff to do. So,
hey, Steve, thank you so much, brother. You're the man. So we appreciate you. If you like this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and make sure that you also plug your social media.
Steve's Restorations and Hot Rods on YouTube, guys. The Wild series. It's coming out 2021. It's going to be incredible. Check us out. You can find us on Instagram. It's just at Steve's Restorations. Facebook, Steve's Restorations and Hot Rods. But like I said, Steve's Restorations and Hot Rods YouTube. We got some awesome stuff coming, so hopefully you guys love it.
Excellent.
Mess right now.
Nice.
But, you know, it's all touch mix, and we can make tons of freaking custom sweet colors in here. And
a lot of candy.
Nice.
oh yeah. Yeah, a little studio right here. So I say fun.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Let me just take a quick leak. Would you guys want something to drink or something? A little water or something? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't worry.
Look at this stuff, dude.
Bro, have a seat.
Look at this stuff.
Sit.
Unbelievable.
Come here, Paul.
Yes, the problem with that is you gotta be,
Way back.
yeah. Oh, this chair's gotta be expensive, bro. It's all horns.
Uh-huh.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's something else. Dude, look at the footstool.
Right, I know.
That's sick. Definitely suits the name, Wild Ride, bro.